Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart to Art. I'm Peta-Gaye Nash, and I cannot wait to talk to my guest today because he has accomplished what many of us really want, what I and many other creatives would truly like, which is to monetize your art, to make a living from it. Kern Carter, I have to look at my notes here because the list is long. He writes full time. First of all, he has written books, a movie. He's a successful author. He knows how to market himself, and he offers services to other writers who are looking to do the same. He educates audiences on the business side of writing, as well as the joys and the reality of writing full time. He's sold thousands of books independently before landing book deals with some of the biggest publishers in the world, and he has an established freelance career. Please welcome Kern Carter.
Oh, hello. I am excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction.
Well, what you have to share, Kern, is invaluable, not only to myself. I admit that I want to learn from you, but to so many other, not just writers, but I think artists on a whole. So let's start from the beginning. How did this all start? When did you decide that you really wanted to be a writer?
I always say I'm really lucky. I knew I wanted to be a writer since I was 8 years old. So I wrote my first book at 8 years old. And from that, what I would give myself credit for is that I kept going, like I kept pursuing it, and I didn't let anything interrupt that vision for me that I had since I was a child. So I knew very early on, and I would say my professional journey started in earnest probably mid university or so, where I was like, okay, now I really need to figure out how to start making money at this thing. And that's when I started getting on my journey of freelancing and copywriting and and then also starting my first novel. So everything started as a child, but I got really focused once I hit university.
So I'm really interested in how your brain worked to get you to where you are right now. And the reason why I say that is you wanted to do something from your eight, but there were steps along the way. I read somewhere that you created a vision board. You may not have called it that at the time, but tell us more about that.
Yeah, I did. I created a few different vision boards. The first vision board I did was actually just writing. I wrote out everything that I wanted to accomplish, and I wrote it in this little yellow pad that I had. And things were on there like make $60,000 a year. That's how long ago that was. I thought that was a lot of money back then. But make $60,000 a year, spend time, make sure I don't miss any of my daughter's track meets, stuff like I was really very focused on that. And then I also, when I created an actual vision board, it was also with the publishers who I wanted to be published by, and I wrote them all down, and I'm published by two of those publishers today. So my mindset has always been that these goals that I'm setting, even though they're creative, even though they are um, probably something that less than 1% of authors achieve, right? Like I knew that going in. I still didn't take the approach that this was something that was to chance. I took the approach that if I did these things and followed these steps and pursued it with this much passion, strategy, efficiency, consistency, like if I did these steps, then my success would be as certain as a lawyer or a teacher or a mechanic success would be, or an accountant success would be, if they just took the classes that they needed to take. Like I never positioned it to myself like this was the impossible. I positioned it to myself like I need to do this to get here. So I was always on a journey, and I was always on a journey to get somewhere. And I think it was very kind of practical for me. And I think that was important to kind of keeping focused.
Yes, I find your journey incredible. There's something else that I wanted to ask you. I think you mentioned somewhere that you came from a household where you saw dreams coming true. How did that help you in your journey?
Oh, you have no idea. My older brother, who was 3 years older than me, he was an incredible role model. He was a gifted student, like literally like part of the gifted program when he was in middle school. Then he went on to be an excellent athlete in high school, where he was the best football player in the country in all of Canada, the third best football player in all of North America. Ended up going to Stanford University, which is one of the top schools in North America,
Yes.
to study pre-med. Played football there on a full scholarship, and then went to the NFL. So, as you have to understand my perspective from this now, in my household, that was happening at the time. So he's 3 years ahead of me. So when I'm in ninth grade, he's already being recruited by the top schools in the world, right? So in my mind, for me to achieve what I had to achieve wasn't distant. It wasn't outside of my own home. I could just look within my household and be like, oh, look, see, I could do it. Like it's right there for me. I can do that too. It wasn't this kind of special formula, or this formula that felt hidden. It was right in front of me. So seeing that, it only added to my confidence and added to my surety that, yeah, of course I'm going to make it. Like this is what happens when you mix talent with like really working hard, but also being very consistent at what you do. So yeah, it was a huge blessing. And I think sometimes we get into a mindset where it's like, yeah, I did this all on my own. I don't want to communicate that message. I had my brother in my home. I had a mom who supported my art. That's not something that everyone has to deal with, right? Sometimes people have parents who kind of oppress their art and say, no, no, do something else and then come back to this type of thing. My mom never
Absolutely.
said that. Yeah, she was like, go do your thing, you're going to be the best. So I had a lot of uplifting people around me.
There are actually so many cultures where art is suppressed and is not looked upon as a career or even something to move towards. But let me go back to your advice for people who did not have what you had. Suppose you come from a childhood where art is either suppressed, or you do not get that support, or you did not see people with dreams fulfilling those dreams. What would you say? What would be the path for those people to take?
I would say take do I'll give two pieces of advice, and they might seem contradictory, but I would ask for some grace. I would say do the thing that you need to do to feel financially stable, and to relieve the pressure that you're getting, that this is not a real job. So if that means taking again, I'm quoting here, real job, air quoting, real job, take that job and become financially stable. Because here's the thing, financial stability is actually one of the key paths to creativity and to a creative career. If you could find a way to stabilize your finances and stabilize your income, it stabilizes your life, it frees up your mind for you to actually be able to create, and it takes a pressure off of your creativity to be the thing that monetizes for you immediately. So that actually gives you the chance to become better at it, and you to take more chances and to experiment. So I would say, take that opportunity. It's a blessing. Like, don't necessarily run away from it, and don't say, oh, I'm stuck in this job, I'm stuck in this job. No, this job is paying the bills, so you could go write, so you could go paint, so you could do whatever your art is. I would change the perspective and tell them that. That's one piece. The other piece, though, is if your art is something that you truly truly love, and I mean unequivocally, like you love this thing, then pursue it beyond all kind of practical advice. That's what I would tell you. If you love it, pursue it beyond all practical advice, because there's nothing practical about being an artist and making a living from it. If you look at the numbers, there's nothing practical about it. So you have to be able to enter and explore and live in that lifestyle, knowing that it's not always going to work out. You're doing it, you have to start from a position of love and passion. You have to, because there are too many obstacles in the way for you, and too much rejection coming your way for you not to love it. Yes, I am where I am now, but the amount of rejection, the amount of doubt, the setbacks, the times I made no money for more than a month, with making no dollars, zero, not one or two, zero. So it's a challenge. So if you don't absolutely love it, then I would say keep it as a hobby, because pursuing it full time is a whole different thing, a whole different kind of animal that you're taking on.
I hear you. So I've read, well, first of all, You published two books independently. I have those down here: Thoughts of a Fractured Soul and Beauty Scars. Am I correct?
You are, yes.
Okay. So before you landed the big publishing deals,
Yeah.
let's go to your journey as a self-published author. I read you went door to door.
Wow. For you to catch that story, that's hilarious. That's good. That's
I
good.
wanted to do that. I actually wanted to go around the neighborhood selling my book, and then I'm like, no, I'm just too embarrassed to do that.
Yeah, no. So it wasn't exactly door to door in that way. So it was door to
Okay.
door because sorry. I met an author at a bookstore. We were selling books together. And I was asking him because he sold a lot of books, like tens of thousands of copies. And I'm like, how, trying to get the game. And he's like, and I don't remember his name, which is why I'm not saying his name. Sorry, this was like a very long time ago. But he was telling me that one of the techniques that he did, or one of the strategies that he tried to apply, was he went door to door, knocked on people's door, and sold his book. I was like, I'm way too shy to do that, but I can do something similar. So what I did was I made bookmarks that turn into door kind of like door stoppers or door handles, I guess, right? Something like that. I don't know exactly what the terminology is for it, but I could put them onto your door. So I went door to door and put those on every door. I think I printed out 500 of them and put them on every door that I could possibly find. That was definitely one of the tactics that I used, and it was still nerve wracking because I'm still walking up to people's door and sometimes they'd open it. So it was still nerve wracking, but again, I loved writing so much. I love my novels so much. Like it's really a part of me. So if you do love it, and when you do love it, you step outside of yourself. You do things that are a little bit uncomfortable because you know that you put in so much time and effort, and you really feel like your writing is beautiful and should be heard and should be read. So if you believe that, then go tell people that. You got to evangelize for yourself. So I feel like if you're not your biggest, evangelist, if you're not your biggest fan, if you're not your biggest promoter, it's going to be a little bit tougher for you.
So the universe really conspired because I looked you up on LinkedIn, found you, and then a couple hours later, randomly, an intern of mine said, the marketing guru is my professor Kern Carter. I said, Kern Carter, I just looked him up on LinkedIn. How is that possible? That's when I knew I had to get in touch with you for sure. Marketing guru. A lot of authors are just not in the business of marketing themselves. We're either too shy, we feel funny, we just don't put in the time. We've written the book, but the second part is the marketing. Help us. Help me.
It's tough. It is tough. I will say, especially for people who are introverted, and I fall under that category as well. But again, the first piece is just loving your work so much. I know I'm repeating that, but that's really the first step. The first step is loving your work and loving yourself and the effort that you put into your work, and understanding that it's so valuable to you that you think it'll be valuable to other people. So that's the first step. The second thing really is, though, finding ways that still feel comfortable for you, even though the marketing itself could be uncomfortable. So what I mean by that is I I ran campaigns, and first of all, like, calling me a marketing guru is a lot. I would say I'm a marketing guru. That's a lot, but I understand where that is coming from. I will say that I've done a lot of things of campaigns that worked and a lot that didn't. The ones that worked were ones where I didn't necessarily need to be front and center. You know what I mean? So I did a campaign for my second self-published book. It was called Beauty Scars. I did a campaign called Love Your Beauty Scars. And what I did was I reached out to people who I knew personally, and I asked them if they would be comfortable sharing a story about when they've been scarred throughout their life, and how they survived that scar. A physical scar or emotional scar, and most of them chose emotional. Some of them chose both. But I was able to capture those stories, share them through my blog, and then have people put them on their own platforms and then reshare them. And then it ended up being something that helped drive traffic towards my book. I did another campaign for the same book where I did a book cover contest, and I had artists from two different high schools compete in a book cover contest, and the cover became my book cover. The winner, sorry, became my book cover. So, and then those people all followed me on social media. So I wasn't front and center of that. Like the artists were in that situation. The people who I asked were in the other situation. So if you can find ways to promote your book, but you're not the main kind of, you're not, let's say, in front of the camera per se. You're kind of just curating these campaigns or curating these ideas that you can then share and spread, and they could share and spread, but you're not the one that's actually doing it. So I think if you could think of it from that perspective, that would really help. And then the other thing is find a way, if you are in front of the camera, do something that still feels comfortable for you. So I will do readings. Like I'll sit down and do readings sometimes where I just read my book, and I put it up, just post it on TikTok. It's just me reading my book. That's it. Reading a chapter, an excerpt from one of my novels. Like I write a lot. I have a blog, a newsletter, called Writers Are Superstars. I write in that newsletter every week, and it's not about my books. It's about publishing and pop culture. Really, I kind of just blend those two things together because I'm really passionate about that, and I share it. But within that, I'm sharing links to my books. So as I'm gathering, I think we're at 3,000 subscribers right now. As I'm gathering subscribers, like they're getting exposed to who I am, getting exposed to my books. I have a fairly high open rate, so I know a good large number of people are reading my newsletter every week, and they're getting exposed to my writing. So again, my picture's not front and center on that. The topic, I'm not even talking about myself on that newsletter. I'm talking about something totally different. So, but again, it's just finding ways that are comfortable for you within the discomfort of marketing and then doing it. But to not do something, I think we're not in that world anymore. We're not in a world where you can publish a book, put it out, and then say, oh, people will find it. That there's too much, there are too many people doing the exact same thing that you're doing, so you have to do something to stand out. You not only have to do something, but you have to do it well enough to stand out. And then you have to do it consistently. And then you have to do a campaign after campaign after campaign until you write another book and then do another campaign for that book. So it is, again, the reason I always I start with saying you have to love what you do, because you have to love it. This is part of it. This getting attention to what you do is part of the creativity now. So you have to love it, or else you're going to get really, really dejected and really quickly.
Oh, I'll be going on TikTok. Thank you, Kern. But now let's talk about landing your publishing deals with some of the world's biggest publishers. How did that come about? And for the audience, I've read 2 of your young adult novels, but you have 3. You have, and then there was Us.
Yes.
Which I finished last night. Boys and Girls Screaming.
Yeah.
As well. And I haven't read Is There a Boy Like Me? But that is, I think, your most recent one.
Yeah, that's a middle grade book. That book was with Scholastic. So that's like a little different from what I typically write. And I love that book. It'll probably be the only middle grade book that I write, though, because I much more enjoy writing for young adults and adults. So that's where I'm going to be. But the middle grade book has been, the response for that book has been incredible. So many people are sending me pictures of their sons or nephews buying the book or saying they're interested in the book. So the impact of that book is going to be grand, and I'm really happy about that. And since I'll start with Scholastic first. Actually, no, let me reverse the story and tell you how I got my publishing deals, because I have to end with Scholastic, because if I tell you that story first, it's not going to make sense. So the process for getting a publisher really starts with an agent. You need to get a literary agent. This is for the most part, generally speaking, you need to get a literary agent. And so I set about trying to get a literary agent for about a year. And the way you do that typically is querying. You send them a pitch of your book, some of the key points. And then typically they ask for maybe 10 pages or something like that to read. 10 to 20 pages they'll ask to read. So I went on a querying, the whole kind of querying journey. And that's not actually how I got my agent, though. I got my agent because of networking. I had 2 agents. I had my first agent because of networking. I was going out onto the literary scene in Toronto a lot. Like I'd go out to all the events, all the book readings, and one of the person who kind of hosts the events, her name is Andrew. She works at another story bookshop. It's in Ronsonsville in Toronto, the west end of Toronto. And she saw me at a lot of her events. So one day she came to me, she's like, "You're out here a lot. Like, what's up? Tell me about yourself, And I told her I'm an author. I told her I was independent at that time. I sold a good amount of books. So she's like, you need an agent. I'm going to put you in touch with one. I was just like, really? She's like, come out to my next event. This agent's going to be there. I'm going to introduce you. I came to the next event. She walked me up to the agent, introduced me. I didn't even have to query. The agent just signed me,
Talk
based
about
off of
dreams
that.
come
Yeah,
true.
exactly. So the networking is how I got my first agent. Now that didn't work out. That's a different story. So we ended up parting ways. But the way I got my current agent is, again, a little bit of networking, but in a different kind of way. So this is why I say sometimes you just have to write and put your work out there, because you never know. I was blogging at this time, and I
Mm.
did a blog um, about parenting. It was something about my daughter, and I think I called it my failures as a father. And it was like this really emotional kind of story I told about how I felt kind of raising my daughter and some of the regrets that I had and stuff like that. So it was a really good piece. I was really proud of it. This what do you call it? Like a parenting magazine picked it up. They were called Fatherly. They were the biggest parenting magazine for fathers around in the US, I think. They picked it up and they posted it on their platform. Um, CBC Radio saw that on that platform and messaged me, and they're like, "Hey, would you be willing to do an interview with you and your daughter?" I said yes. I did that interview with me and my daughter. My current agent heard the interview, so he heard the interview, reached out to me. When he reached out to me, though, I was with my former agent, and I was like, oh, I already have an agent, but if anything changes, I'll message you. When my situation changed with my former agent, I messaged him, and then, kind of the short of that story is that he ended up signing me. So it happened though because I was putting my work out there. I wasn't
Yeah,
just kind of sitting back. That's really how I
yeah.
got it. So that's how I got my agent. Once you got an agent, the agent pitches to the publisher. So we were once he had the book that he liked, and we got it to a point where he felt confident in pitching. He started pitching, and my first publisher was an independent publisher named Cormorant, DCB Books, Dancing Cat Books, and I have to give them so much credit because they're the first to take a chance on me. They published Boys and Girls Screaming, and that opened the doors, because once you're in, you're in. Like it's a
Such a
whole
great book as well. As I said, I finished it. Oh no, I finished the other one last night. Read
yeah.
that one 2 weeks ago. Such a good book.
Thank you. It's actually I know I shouldn't say this, but it's my favorite book. Only because I think it's my first published book, so it's my baby. But it's also the first book where I wrote it just purely off imagination. I wasn't pulling from any real life references. I was just like, let me imagine a story. And it turned out beautifully. I love that book so much.
Mm.
But yeah, Cormorant gave me my first chance, and I was really excited about that. And then when I wrote my second book, and then there was us, my Penguin picked it up. My agent we were pitching, and Penguin really liked it. So they're like, hey, and they have a YA division called Tundra, and very specifically, Tundra were the people who picked me up. So it was great to do that. So that happened. Okay, so that's happening.
And let me
Scholastic.
just add that that one was my favorite for
Ha.
my personal reasons, because it really showed how parents and children can just misunderstand each other because neither one knows the whole story. Let me just say,
Absolutely.
no one
Absolutely.
knows the whole story. Children don't know what parents are going through or have gone through, and vice versa.
Yes.
So to me, that one was
It's,
just
it's my best book. It's my best book. I have to admit, I feel like the writing is my best, the storytelling is my best. So even though I say Boys and Girls Screaming is my favorite, I know. And then there was us. It's my most popular book. People already it's for sure my most popular book, and I know why. Like I hit some chords, and I feel like I touched on something that's
you did.
very,
You
very
did.
kind of poignant for people. So I'm proud of that book.
So I cut you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So after Scholastic, actually, I guess they saw my writing somewhere. So they emailed me and they said, "Hey, we saw your writing somewhere. Would you like to? We have this book idea. Would you like to write for us?" And I was like, "What?" So I CC'd my agent. I'm like, "Yes, of course. Here's my agent. Blah blah blah." And they kind of went back and forth and made it happen. But Scholastic had an idea to write a book for young boys, but they gave me free reign. They're like, it could be about anything you want, just like
Um,
you just want to target it for young boys. And I was like, that's perfect, because I feel like there was a gap in that space. There's a real
mhm.
gap in books for young boys, especially middle grade boys. So I wanted to I was happy they asked me to focus on that. So we did, and that's how Is There a Boy Like Me came up. So
Mhm.
that's how I got my publishing deals. Like it's
Amazing.
that's the work,
Amazing.
that's the stories.
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying, to paraphrase, is that if you want this, you go for it. You put yourself out there, you take the risks that you need to do, and you just do it.
And you just do it. And
You
you
do
just
it.
do it.
Yeah, you do your best to overcome whatever block you're having, and you just do it. And I hope that this podcast really inspires other writers to take that step. So you have also done a movie. Can you tell us about that? I mean, you've now moved
Yeah.
from being a successful author into script writing.
Yes. And production more specifically as well. So I have a creative partner who was my business partner at first, and we were working together on the newsletter I was talking about, the blog that my agent found my other piece in. Like we were working together on some business stuff, and we are doing pretty well at that. And then she came to me one day and she's like, "Oh, I have this script idea that I'm thinking about. I want to do it, and it's about three girls who are friends. Like, but she's like, she was unsure about it, but we kind of, long story short, we ended up pushing through with it. She wrote the script, so I didn't write the script. I helped edit the script.
Mhm.
So I want to make sure she gets full credit for that. So she wrote it, but when we ended up producing it, though, we got a grant. I'll say that we got a grant. We applied for a grant, got a grant, which is never happens. We got a grant on our first try, and it's the first script that she ever wrote. It's the first film that I ever edited or produced, right? Like first time ever doing this, and we got the grant, and we produced the film. Um, it was the most magical experience that we've ever gone through. It's putting together a film is hard. It's expensive and it's hard. Like it's so collaborative. You have to work with so many different people, and there are 30 to 40 people on set every day. Then you
Wow.
have post production and like marketing, and then you have to apply for festivals, and it's a journey. It's a lot. But again, if there's a theme that you're catching onto here is I didn't let the fact that me or my partner never wrote a script to stop us from writing a script and doing the thing.
Ah,
Well, we didn't.
you
We
go
when
for
we applied for the grant, we
it.
did not even have the script fully written yet. I want people to think about that. We did not even have the full script written. We just said we were putting it on faith that, hey, if they come with the money, we'll find a way to get this thing done. You know, and we
What's the
did
name
it.
of the film?
It's called Wallflower. It's
Well,
on Tubi. You can see it for free on Tubi, but it's also on Prime Video. So it's on Amazon Prime in the US. So you can watch it in the
amazing.
US if it's on Prime, but Tubi in Canada for free.
Okay, okay. And now I want to talk about your work with emerging writers,
Mm-hmm.
because you started a group. Is it called Cry?
Cry, yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so it's different things. That it's more that we've created these platforms for writers in different circumstances. So the first platform was called Cry Magazine, and that was a digital magazine we hosted on a platform called Medium. And what we talked about, or what the foundation of Cry Magazine was we wanted to talk about the emotional parts of writing. People were talking about all these technical parts, how to do this, how to do that. We were like, that's great, but like, where's the space to talk about the rejection, the fear, the not having a partner that understands, like all these different topics that no one was talking about. We started talking about that, and we it was a magazine, so we were actually taking submissions from people. And at its height, we got to the most views we had per month was about 40,000. We are really doing well with that magazine. So that was one platform we created. Then we created another platform called Love and Literature, where we made, it was the same concept as Cry Magazine, but we hyper focused a little bit, and we made it we asked storytellers to kind of give us memoirs that about their life, and we split those memoirs up into 4 chapters that we put out once every Sunday, and we called it Love and Literature, and that did really well. And then we're like, there's another space that we're missing. We're like, we need to give teens a voice, young people a voice. So we created another platform called Teens Love Lit. And Teens Love Lit is something we're still doing right now, where we got teenagers to tell their stories, shorter stories, but about 1,000 words. And we put it out, and we created this platform for teenagers only, connected to teachers as well, to, keep safety measures up. But so we had teens only, connected with teachers, and these teens were reading the stories at our open rate, because we did it through a newsletter, was 72% so these teenagers were opening a newsletter every Saturday morning and reading their stories from their peers at 72%, which is why, and we got funding for that from Simple Foundation. They actually funded that project for us. So we were able to pay the teens. I'm telling you, so when I say we support emerging writers, that's what I mean. We create the platform for them. So it's like give them space to share their voice. And now the newsletter that we have now is called Writers Are Superstars. And again, it's a little bit different where me and my editor, we do research and we connect publishing to pop culture. And we say, like, here is everything, like here's what's happening in pop culture. Here's what's happening in writing and publishing. We put those two things together and create these beautiful stories for people and share these statistics or these research points that make writers know that they're valuable. Like, just because people are talking about this in pop culture, this is how you connect to it and you should feel proud. So it's really about confidence. So that's doing extremely well. So we create platforms for writers, really, for emerging writers. But from a service level too, we do offer services. We especially ghostwriting. That's what we do more than anything. But that's not necessarily for other writers. That's just for people who want to share their story. We'll help them put together their story as a ghostwriter
That
in
is
many forms.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. I love your website. I think any writer who wants to do what you have done really should take a look at your website because, and we'll add your website to this, but I love how you add the services. I mean, Kern, I'm going to use you when I've written my manuscript. You have services for writers.
Yeah.
And I love that. Can you talk about what services you do offer?
Yeah. So the ghostwriting for sure is one of the services we offer, like I mentioned. So if you have a book idea or story idea that you want to write, we'll definitely do that. I offer a lot of workshops. I do a lot of workshops for writers and for the general public. So I've done workshops on memoir writing, writing commercial fiction, like so many things. I do my workshops for free. So everyone's welcome to these workshops, or the only time I've ever charged for a workshop was when it was like a different organization and I was paired with them. So if I'm doing a workshop myself, it's going to be free. So yeah, like that, everything that we can. On top of that, I can't even tell you how many writers I mentor. Like, when I say mentor, like, it's not a paid situation. Like, hey, you need some help? Can I message you? Can we have conversations? Yes. Can you connect this, that? Yes. I'll do all of that for you. So as much as I can take on, I do. I can't take on everybody. It depends on my time of year and what's happening with me. But as many writers as I could take on, I do it for sure.
And
so yeah.
you also help writers, query agents as well.
Oh, yes. We've helped writers put together proposals. We've helped a few writers get agents, which has been a blessing for us as well. That's huge. One of my writers, one of the people we helped out just messaged me the other day, said an agent got back to them. So
the dream.
We're helping.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
My website is probably the best place. KernCarter.com is probably the best place because that's where everything is. That's where you'll see everything that we spoke about today. But if you don't want to go on my website, just go to social media and Google Kern Carter or type in Kern Carter. My name is the same on every social media platform.
Okay. And finally, I feel so blessed that you're here today. But finally, any piece of advice you would like to share for writers young and old?
Yeah, I would say really take your time to study the craft. Don't skip that part. A lot of writers think that just because they have a good story to tell, that's enough. Study the craft of writing. Study the craft. If you're writing short stories, study that. If you're writing novels, study that. If you're writing memoirs, study that. Study the craft of writing. The better you are at what you do, the easier it is for you to bring attention to yourself because you will stand out. The quality of your writing matters. I'm telling you, I did not get published until I upped the level of my writing. That was the difference between me getting published or not. I had to become a better writer. And I told you I've been writing since I was 8. So if I can humble myself after self-publishing 2 books and still being told that I need to be a better writer, humble myself, become a better writer, and then, now have multiple publishing deals, you can humble yourself, so that's what I would say. Just like study the craft. Study the craft.
What a pleasure it was to speak to you today. I know you've helped me, and I'm sure that you will help anyone listening to this podcast. Your advice really is invaluable. Thank you so much for joining me.
No
And
problem. Thank you. Bring me back. I love this. This was great. You asked such like the perfect questions, like really valuable questions. So I appreciate it.
you know what? I can't finish yet. There is one more thing.
Okay.
I heard that your background is you're from Trinidad.
Yes.
How does that influence your writing?
It gives me another lens. Like if especially with my self-published books and no, I shouldn't say that. Not just my self-published books, but as far as like thinking through culture with my
Mhm.
stories, I don't because I was actually born in Trinidad. So I have this kind of these memories and this wealth of culture because I grew up with in a home that my grandfather built, in a home that had my to both my grandparents, both my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, both my brothers, all in the same house in a huge house that we grew up in. So
Mm.
Trinidad is part of me, and that cultural lens gives me, I think, a different perspective that to storytell, that I wouldn't have if I wasn't born there. So it's something that never escapes me and never escapes my writing. It's part of me.
It is because I loved how in your book, one of the characters, you say that when the mother got really angry, she resorted to patois. And of course, the daughter knows once the mother goes there, and I thought he nailed it.
Yeah.
He nailed it because that's true for so many of us. Not me, though. I'm always perfectly calm. Never raised my voice, not even once. There was so much truth in that
Yeah,
when
yeah,
Caribbean parents resort to patois, we mean business.
yeah,
And I just love how, although you're published by the big publishers, they what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that you are giving the world a new view,
yes, yeah. And they
a
let me do it. And they let me do it.
and they let you do it. What a stride
Yeah,
forward,
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm
now
so
I'm done.
happy. I'm so happy you noticed that too, though. I'm so happy you know because the other part is like the stories that I typically heard about publishers is that they don't. So I have to give a huge shout out to Penguin. Penguin, there are some things I had to explain as to why I wanted to keep it there, but once I explained it, they're like, okay, like no pushback, no take this out, no change this, nothing. They're just like, as soon as I explained it, because I took the time to explain it, they're like, okay, cool, leave it in. So they've been amazing. I have the most amazing publishing team. Like I'm so happy there that yeah, I hope I stay there forever. They're really nice.
And I hope you get all that you wish for. You deserve it for all the hard work that you've put in. Um, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you so much for sharing.
No problem. I had a great
Okay.
time.
Thanks again, Kern.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.